What's up, crew? Hope you're having a rad day. In this episode, we go back to the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival where I demo the newly released fiveten Trailcross shoe. I'm Alan, and this is the MTB Alan channel. So before we begin, a bit of channel news. First off, we just hit 5,000 subscribers, so congratulations, crew, for getting us to that number. Pretty freaking rad. Those of you who have come on recently, welcome. I hope that I continue to make content that keeps you sticking around. And those of you who have been with the channel for a while, thank you for your continued support. You know who you are. Another bit of news, the Airhorn channel, which is the companion channel to this one, and now houses all of the raw vlogs. We recently hit 100 subscribers, and we are fast on our way to 200 subscribers. The cool thing about that channel is I've been able to do more kind of podcast and interview kind of stuff over there. So if you haven't checked it already, go ahead and click up there and check that out when you have a minute. So, I got my first look at these shoes last year at the Fox US Open. In this episode, we are going back to the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival where I actually got to demo these shoes. The Sedona Mountain Bike Festival happened just a few weeks ago, just before we actually started getting serious about social distancing. As a note, I'll be using the Freerider and Freerider Pro as comparison shoes throughout this video. We all know those shoes pretty well. And for clarity's sake, when I say Freerider Pro, that's the shoe I mean, unless I just say Freerider. This is mostly so I don't have to say Freerider regular all the time. So either Freerider Pro or Freerider. Cool? Cool. So first off, it was pretty rad that you could demo shoes. Is this normal? Actually, I don't know. Is it normal? This was my first festival. Let me know if this is the kind of thing that happens all the time. Any case, I thought it was rad. It works pretty much like demoing a bike, except they don't have to set the sag. Before we get the shoes onto the trail though, let's cover a couple of the details about this shoe. They are intended for riding, hike a bike, and trail building, but they're primarily for riding. So they have some more like what I would call lightweight foot armor on them. So the outsole is pretty much what you get on the Freerider and Freerider Pro. They've got the stealth rubber, they've got the dotty pattern. The main difference is that around the toe, they've got a different pattern for hiking uphill, and around the heel, they've got braking edges for when you're hiking downhill. The midsole is made of EVA foam, so it's really similar to the Freerider Pro. The uppers are really well ventilated and made of a that's like a superhero. Hydrophobic. They're made of a hydrophobic material, so they kind of shed water, but more than that, if they get soaked, they dry out really quick. The most unique thing about these shoes happens all around the ankle. You've got a neoprene gaiter to keep out dust and sand, and the big ticket item is the D30 protection around the ankle. So going into this demo, I knew from comments on my original Trailcross video that you all had concerns about the breathability of the shoe, how heavy they were going to be, and really everybody was concerned about just how comfortable these shoes were going to be. So I did keep those things in mind as I demoed the shoe. What I found interesting is that nobody had concerns, myself included, about whether or not this shoe was going to perform well as a riding shoe. And this is fiveten after all. So with that, let's get back to Sedona. Right now, I've got a size, maybe that's a half a size too big. The size that I normally wear, they said it's maybe sizing up about half a size too much. So they're suggesting people size down half a size, but they don't have that for me. So I'm riding half a size too big, so it'll feel a little bit weird. I'll tell you, so far, it feels pretty good. These are the shoes. So yeah, we're gonna go do like a little jump line, and there's a little kind of semi-techy trail we're gonna do on this thing, and we'll see how it feels. Well, they definitely have good traction. Some of that might just be that it's like new rubber, but they feel like a pair of 510s. Nice support, good traction. All right, so that felt pretty good. We're gonna try them out on that
kind of little techie trail over there. Yeah, these feel good. Really nice and cushed.
So no surprise, the grip and ride feel were good. The grip is what you would expect from that stealth rubber. They were more grippy than my current Freerider Pros, but I'm just going to chalk that up to them being brand new. The ride feel was less like the Freerider and more like the Freerider Pro, which has more vibration absorption as well as what I would call a more precise pedal feel. Now, what about those concerns? The weight. So they're definitely a lot lighter than they look. I kind of knew this already from when I saw them last year at the Fox US Open, but getting them onto my feet and then seeing what their weight was like in practical use was good. Breathability. Again, no issue here. Granted, it was perfect riding weather when I demoed the shoes, but the uppers were really well ventilated, definitely more ventilated than the Freerider Pros and more ventilated even than the Freeriders. So I would say on a hot day, they're gonna do just fine. Comfort. Now, this was a big one. People were concerned about the D30 panels and them gouging my ankles or just doing weird stuff. I experienced no weirdness. They were the panels are pliable, they're comfortable. If anything, they're supportive, and I saw no evidence that they were going to impede movement in any way. And just in general, I found the shoes to be pretty comfortable. And that was until I took them off and then put my Freerider Pros back on, and then I realized just how comfortable the Trailcross are. Honestly, if they had my size in stock at the tent, I probably would have picked up a pair on the spot. One minor concern I had specifically around the gaiters was whether or not they were going to make the shoe hard to put on or take off. And honestly, the first time I put the shoe on, it took me a second to just kind of get my head around it, but the second shoe went on without any trouble, and they came off no problem. So one of the things I wasn't able to test in the demo was whether or not they would do well on a long and grueling climb. But based on the midsole construction being similar to the Freerider Pro, which I know pretty well, and the fact that the uppers are really nice and breathable, I feel like they would do pretty well. I also wasn't able to test them out as hiking shoes, unless you want to count hoofing around at the festival, but keep in mind that they're primarily riding shoes that have augments that make them just better than normal riding shoes at hiking and trail building. Now here's the kicker. These things cost $170 USD. That's a lot if you compare them to the Freeriders, which come in at $100 American dollars. But I would say it's more fair to compare them to the Freerider Pros, which are $150. I own the Freerider Pros, and I would say with the amount of durability that they've had, I've had them for over a year and they're still doing just fine. That makes them worth the money. I can't speak for how durable these shoes are, so in my head, the jury is still out as to whether or not the Trailcross are worth $170. The only real downside I can see with these shoes is fashion. Yeah, I know, but some of us think about these things. If you look at the Freerider and Freerider Pro, they're relatively unassuming shoes and they blend in pretty well when you go for that post-ride bite or beer. The Trailcross, on the other hand, regardless of how you feel about the way they look, they probably look the best when they're on the trail. So those are my thoughts on the fiveten Trailcross, a comfortable high top that performs as well as its low riding brethren, but comes with more protection from the rocks, dirt, and sand that the trail is going to throw at you. Remains to be seen how durable these shoes are, and in my head that is a deciding factor as to whether or not they are worth the coin. Hopefully you dug this video. Hit that like button. Check to see if you're subscribed. If you're not, hit that subscribe button. I'll show up in your feed and you'll be supporting the channel. And with that, See you next week.